Would you trade a little of yourself if it erased every bill? Would you act a bit strange on cue if it unlocked a door you always wanted to open? Would you let someone else write the part if the part paid in peace? Hold that question for a minute because this story tests it. We drop straight into the room where money sweats. Glass walls shine and heels tap like a clock. A private museum hums with names that never wait in line. Cameras are up, and a smile sells like stock. In the center, there is a hall of mirrors and money floats in clear resin. The air warms by the second, and the resin softens. Bills sag and slip like they are tired of behaving. People gasp because melting money feels like a crime. A man with the smooth face of a sponsor lifts a glass of water. He looks like a press release with legs. That is Dorian, and he buys chaos wholesale. Across the room stands the artist who built this trap of beauty. That is Mara, and she stares as if the mirror is her boss.
It is getting hot in here, and I do not know if the art is breathing or I am.
She says it in a low voice, and no one hears but us. Dorian nods to a handler, and the handler nods to the thermostat. Phones go up, and the scene goes viral before anyone leaves. You can already feel the headline write itself. It will say genius kisses madness, and money pays for a second date. Now we rewind to the door that started this. Mara had a rooftop studio and a landlord who liked to visit. She worked nights and sold small pieces for rent and noodles. Then one piece caught fire online, and a driver delivered a card. The card led to an office with soft chairs and hard terms.
I admire your nerve, and I admire the way people cannot look away. I protect talent, and I protect the noise that feeds it. Come into my foundation and breathe.
The pitch was air and money at once. The pitch was safety with a clever asterisk. A lawyer named Cynthia slid a contract across the table.
This is standard, and it is a friend to your future self. We take care of your studio and your debts and your security. We ask for image rights and scheduled appearances and coordination.
Coordination sounded gentle until you read the fine print. It said reputation choreography, like it was a dance class. It said volatility management, like it was a weather report. A curator named Iris sat with her hands closed on her lap.
I love the work, and I want the work safe from the work around the work. Read it twice and sleep on it.
Mara read and did not sleep because sleep owed rent.
I need time to make the work I believe in. I am tired of selling hours to fear.
She signed with a heavy pen that felt like a tiny ship. On day one, a car took her to a studio with white light and silent floors. On week one, a brand consultant taught her where to pause in interviews. On month one, her prices doubled because scarcity had a manager. The first show under the new flag was a storm on purpose. A public outburst at a gala drew every camera in town.
Stop filming me, unless you want to film something real.
That line climbed a ladder of shares and sat at the top. Sales rose and relief set in like warm tea. Rent disappeared, which felt like magic made of numbers. Then, the bill for relief arrived in another line of the contract. The show needed refills of heat to keep the price chart alive. Dorian called it gentle turbulence.
People pay more when they feel alive. Let us give them a jolt, and then a blanket.
That became the house style, and it worked, until it hurt. Friends who knew her before the bright room were told to wait outside the frame.
I will see you after the season ends.
The season never ended, because performance renews itself when it pays. Mara began to pace in rooms that did not answer back. Nights grew long and days grew staged. There were memos that would later look like jokes if you forgot they were real. One memo said authenticity calendar, and it slotted honesty between brunches. Another memo said coordinate breakdowns with valet so cars do not block the press. A wellness stipend included public contrition coaching, which is a phrase you have to read twice. Here comes a small high, then a small bill. A collector flew in and paid 7 figures for a piece that took a week to design and a lifetime to feel. The team cheered and the room thanked the spreadsheet. That night, Mara could not stop shaking, so a handler offered a script.
You are safe, and you are protected, and we have you.
The handler meant it, and yet it felt like a soft hand on a hard collar. Iris visited and brought tea and eyes that did not need a camera.
You do not look like you when you are in there. Come sit in the quiet with me for 1 hour.
They sat and counted the ways a contract can be a mirror. Mara whispered that the mirror had begun to give orders.
I stand in front of it, and my face tries to please it before I speak.
Iris kept the cup steady and said nothing until the cup was empty. Then she looked at the calendar and asked for copies of the paperwork. Cynthia did not send them, but someone in the office did. The files came in a zip that felt like a confession. Inside was a deck with a clean font and a cold purpose. The title said, Volatility Monetization Plan. The slides priced a public scare at a premium and a private scare at 0. They graphed how many points of chaos equal how many points of price. They encouraged small fires in rooms with sprinklers. There was even a section that ranked phrases by engagement yield. You could be forgiven for laughing if you forgot it was a person on the other side.
We can show this, and we can show it clearly.
If I scream, they bank it, and if I whisper, they bank it. What is left to do that they cannot price?
Iris said a word that flips most tables in silence.
Receipts.
She meant not revenge, but evidence arranged with care. She sketched a show that turned the office into the exhibit. Contracts would sit under light like rare maps. Invoices would project onto walls like public weather. Voice notes from handlers would play through open headphones. The audience would hear the work get nudged away from itself. They named it the audit, because that word makes people stand up straight. Cynthia warned that an injunction would land before the first lamp warmed.
Be careful because a clause can cut, even if it looks like paper.
She was not a villain, and she was not a hero. She was a tired expert who felt a slow turn inside. The clause that saved them lived in the most boring paragraph. It said the artist may use any material owned by the artist. Mara owned her drafts and her emails and her audio notes. She did not own the edits, but she owned the first breath. That was enough to build a room that told the truth without yelling. They found a sponsor who loved risk until the landlord got a call from Dorian.
This is not a cut to the art. This is a cut to the circus that feeds the art. Please stand down for the health of the market.
The landlord smiled into the phone and changed his mind about bravery. Iris moved the show to a cold space with thick floors. It used to be a data center, and you could feel old secrets in the vents. Volunteers taped cables while Mara printed labels that were almost kind. The night before the opening, Cynthia sent one message that was shorter than law school.
If you proceed, then proceed clean.
The doors opened at noon, and a line formed without a poster. People came because silence had leaked, and silence is rare. Inside, they were greeted by a voice in headphones that never raised itself. The voice walked them through rooms without telling them what to feel. In room 1, pages floated in clear blocks like fossils of power. Each page held a glare and a little dignity. In room 2, a wall bloomed with budgets and call sheets. The items looked normal until the labels added weight. You read public apology rehearsal and you stop for a breath. In room 3, screens played rehearsal footage for pain. APR lead walked Mara through a breakdown like a dance.
Do I really need to do it like this?
We can also show the part where you say no.
They left in the refusal because refusal is a muscle. The crowd went quiet, and then loud, and then quiet again. Phones filmed and then lowered, which is a victory in our time. Dorian arrived on the hour and wore a calm that looked fitted.
This is bold, and I respect the courage on display. I am also proud to support transparency in our field.
He held a packet that would make your stomach nod, even before your head did. He had already securitized the outrage and pre-sold it to a fund. Investors would get a slice of any spike in conversation. He did not need to stop the show, because the show fed his plan. That is the moment when nausea and awe become cousins. Mara looked at the blank wall reserved for the final piece. She saw a future where every breath came with a receipt. She saw another where breath was just breath. She realized the one move no fund can buy is the decision to stop.
I am done.
She signed her name on the blank wall with a small black pen. Then she left the building and left the echo behind her. The room held its breath and then posted about it anyway. The blank signature became the most photographed part of the show. That twist will either depress you or wake you up. Prices spiked because absence sells when mystery is a product line. Dorian smiled like a person who could monetize a quiet street.
We wish her well on her next chapter.
The line sounded kind, but it also sounded like a caption selling a mattress. Iris stayed in the room and looked at the people who stayed with her.
Everything you saw today belongs in public view. It will be online and free by tonight.
She kept her word and uploaded the files under a license that let learning spread. Cynthia typed for a minute and then deleted a paragraph and then typed 2 lines.
Conflict of interest is the point where I found mine.
She resigned and slept for the first time in a month. Young artists downloaded the templates and learned to say no in one email. Collectors argued that art should not bite the hand that feeds it. Other collectors argued that art should teach the hand how to feel. The comment wars fed the algorithm which fed the video, which fed nothing but time. Mara took a bus to a small town and watched a lake forget her name. She rented a garage with a window that liked the morning. Her new pieces did not launch with noise, and that was the point. A small gallery showed them, and the room smelled like paint, not perfume. Dorian moved on to a new genius who performed volatility with fresh knees. The market applauded and then asked what was next, because hunger is punctual. Now we return to the question that started this. Would you sell a little of yourself for clean bills and clean sheets? Would you sell more if people kept clapping? Would you stop when the clapping got loudest? The honest answer depends on where the month meets your bank app. That does not make you weak, and it makes you human. Here is the small fable tucked inside the gossip. Money can rent your mask, but only you decide who owns your face. Approval can pay your rent, but it should not set your price. A contract can be a home or a cage, depending on the door you lock at night. If you must perform, then choose your stage and choose your ending. Do not forget that silence is also a line you can draw. Let me give you tiny beats we skipped past in the rush. After the Melting Money show, a collector tried a refund request. He claimed heat damage, and the irony broke its own back. The foundation replied with a clause about environmental drift. The collector framed the email as a piece and sold it to a friend for a laugh. Cynicism learned yoga that week, because it was very flexible. A handler wrote a note that said, "Keep tissues in green room." They meant kindness and logistics at once. An intern wrote, "Do we have a budget for real feelings?" No one replied, and the intern saved the note in a folder called Later. When the audit files went public, that intern cried in a way no brand could manage. The tears did not trend, and they did not need to. A small class at a small college used the files as a syllabus. The students held a debate where both sides won by listening. One student asked if the artist was ungrateful for leaving. Another asked if gratitude must always include obedience. The room decided that gratitude is a thank you, not a choke chain. The professor smiled like a person who still likes their job. Cynthia started a practice that only represents artists and only takes yes if the contract fits like a glove. She now rejects more work than she accepts and calls it growth. Iris curates shows that come with handouts in plain language. People leave her events feeling full, not dizzy. Dorian keeps winning by his own scoreboard, and that tells you something about scoreboards. He will not be the last, and he was not the first. The market is a stage, and it is not an enemy until it tells you who to be. A quiet note for anyone building a life in a loud field. Choose 2 friends who love you more than your numbers. Put their names on speed dial for the days when success sounds like a siren. Promise them you will answer if they call you back to yourself. Give them permission to drag you into the park when the mirror gets bossy. None of that takes a press release. Here is a quick rewind through our microstorms so your mind can store them. A jolt brings eyes, and a blanket brings loyalty. A spike buys quiet, and a clause buys the next spike. A deck turns people into inputs, and inputs into cash. A receipt turns power back into a question. A walk away turns the question into your answer. That is the ride, and that is the exit. I will show you 3 short scenes that did not make the headlines but made the person. In scene 1, Mara meets a kid in a small gallery, and the kid asks what to do when school calls your work weird.
Keep the weird, and keep the homework, and keep your sleep. Do the 3, and they cannot catch you.
In scene 2, Iris sits at a table with a young curator who thinks ethics will make her boring.
Ethics will make you fast, because you will stop second-guessing yourself.
In scene 3, Cynthia eats lunch alone and tastes food for the first time in weeks.
Nothing here needs a clause to be allowed.
She laughs into her napkin and no one invoices the moment. A last note on Dorian, because villains look flat when we forget they are people. He grew up in rooms where love had a KPI. He learned that chaos is valuable if you can leave before it burns. He collects artists like rare storms and sells umbrellas with their names on them. He sleeps well because the numbers smile at him. That is not a curse, and it is a lens. If you ever meet someone like him, remember that resistance is not applause or rage. Resistance is a firm no and a clean door. The story could have ended with a court fight or a scandal bigger than the first one. It ended with a pen stroke and footsteps down a hallway. That kind of ending looks small on camera and huge in a spine. The audit lives online as a toolbox you can carry in your pocket. You can open it when a contract tries to borrow your face. You can point to a clause and ask for a better one. You can show your friends where the trap looks like a hug. You can practice the sentence that buys you back. The sentence is simple and heavy, and it works. The sentence is, I choose when I perform. Now we close the loop on the first question. If someone offered you a life without bills in exchange for a part you did not write, then you would think hard. That thinking is your guardrail and your compass. Keep both, because both keep you. Let us land with a gentle moral you can fold into your wallet. Money can rent your mask, but do not lease out your face. Applause can help you breathe, but do not let it decide how you speak. Fame can carry you for a mile, but you must carry your name the rest of the way. Here is the small gold dust we promised to mix into the mess. The deep truth is not that power corrupts or that art saves or that markets are mean. The deep truth is that choice builds a person one quiet yes and one quiet no at a time. You can be chosen and still choose. You can be paid and still pause. You can be watched and still walk away. That is the muscle we train when we listen to stories like this. Thank you for staying with me to the end of this ride. If this story gave you something, tap like and hit subscribe and leave a comment with your take. If you want to support the channel, use the QR code on the screen or the link in the description. You will also find links in the description to other series that live in a very different world. I think you will enjoy them even if they do not share the same tone. See you in the next one and bring a friend, because the next story will test a different door. Take care until then, and keep your name in your own hands.